I put an end to that. Good afternoon! I have so much shit to do, so I decided I was gonna waste a bunch of time. This is gonna be an unhaul. It's gonna be me talking about why I'm getting rid of all this stuff. I'm gonna try and keep it concise because there's a lot to get through, but I feel like I should kind of preface that with my approach to books that I own and the way I read them. When I read a book, there's like a 1 in 4 chance that I'm gonna keep it, probably. And that's just because I know that I'm not much of a rereader. A book has to be really, really special, or it has to be like a gift from someone really special, or has to be really beautiful for me to want to keep it. So, I've been trying desperately to work out how to get rid of these books because so my general book collection is on one shelf. I don't have space for any more, which is another reason I get rid of so many books. So I have like a single IKEA bookshelf, and then the books I'm getting rid of I stack next to it. And that stack is genuinely about 5 foot tall now. Usually I'd get rid of them regularly, like at least once a year, but I didn't get round to it last year because I had tonsillitis the whole summer and it just didn't occur to me. I was in hospital twice! They poked the back of my neck with needles because they thought I had an abscess and it was just a massive fucking tonsil. Oh! Anyway, most of the books that I read over the past couple of years that I owned a physical copy of, I got rid of. So there's a lot to get through. But the stack is obviously oldest at the bottom and newest at the top. So we're gonna go most recent to oldest across like 2 years, which is not ideal, but I'm not taking stuff from the bottom of the stack first. I don't have the mental fortitude for that. I'm currently in negotiations with a local library to get these donated. So I usually just take them to a charity shop, but like the last time I took a bunch of books to a charity shop, the guy was like, we're kind of we'll take these, but we're kind of overburdened with books at the moment. We don't usually take this many at one time. I was like, oh, okay. And I genuinely probably have about twice as many as last time. So I'm not, and I feel like charity shops are great, but I would like my books to be part of a kind of community resource, given the choice. So these are most of them probably, fingers crossed, going to a library. I've got like a small chunk here from the top of the stack, and then I'm gonna go run out and get new ones, and I'm gonna have to reconstruct the whole pile at the end. Which I'm not looking forward to, but let's not think about that right now. Let us go from the top of the pile. This is the most recent one. The Coin by Yasmin Zaher. Zaher? I should probably Google that. I thought this book was really interesting. It's in a similar vein as Sayaka Murata, books about someone who is totally disillusioned with the culture around them. I think if I had any connection with New York, this would be much more significant to me. I would be able to say much more about like the culture of New York and the people that it attracts. As such, this just it was really beautifully written, really interesting. I loved the last 25 pages. I wish that part of the first part of the book had been shorter, because this book is like 220 pages and most of the chapters are this long. I wouldn't want it to be any shorter, but I wish the ratio of the stuff at the end versus the rest of the body of the book was a bit different, but that's just my personal taste. I know people who really liked this. I find it certainly not without merit, but really taxing to read characters who have no drive whatsoever. I think it can be done well, and I think this is done well to some extent, but I put myself in the shoes of characters really significantly, and this depressed me so bad. So, that one, it's going. I'm not gonna reread it. Someone else can get a lot more out of it than me. Another one in a similar vein, Fathers and Fugitives by S.J. Norde. Got this as a proof through my job. The synopsis says it's about South Africa, the culture of men in South Africa. I thought that sounded really interesting. So this is like almost a short story collection following a guy called Daniel throughout his life, from like his late 20s to his basically death. I think he dies at the end. Oh, okay, spoiler. Is that a spoiler? It follows the course of his life. I don't think that's a spoiler, but it certainly ends with him kind of closing a bunch of circles in his life. The first story in this collection, the first chapter, is so paralyzing. It's full of intrigue and mystery, and you're like, what the hell is going on? And then you reach the like climax of this story, and I was literally like this. And I was like, oh, I'm hooked, this is going to be incredible. And then the rest of the book just felt gratuitous in a way that the first story didn't quite. I liked the first story because Daniel felt like such a detached, emotionless character, and that kind of ebbs. You never see him go to the heights that he does in the first story again. And then it just gets really depressing and kind of grim. And by the end of the book I was like, the death toll of this book is fucking crazy as well. It's like not even 200 pages long, and like 9 people die. It got to the point where like a character would be introduced, I'd be like, how many pages do you think this guy's gonna last? And it was about 20. Again, just not my cup of tea, I guess. It depressed me immensely. One character, you're like, oh, he's gonna disappear and whatever, and then the next chapter starts with like, oh yeah, they found him like dashed to pieces by a truck like 3 streets away. It's like, why? I don't know. Anyway, okay, we're getting rid of this. Someone else can enjoy it more than me. Great Black Hope by Rob Franklin. Now, this is a real bummer. I DNF'd this at about 56%. Usually when I get past the halfway point, I'm like, well, sunk cost. I gotta finish it. But this book is like, it's long, and the font is very small. I'm not crazy about the font either. I'm very picky about my fonts, and it's very light on the page. My eye kept kind of losing my place. The concept of this is great. I really like it's this guy, he's super rich, and he lives in New York, and he's black, and one of his friends dies, and then he's arrested and charged with possession of cocaine, and suddenly he's like being tried for all sorts of shit. And there's a clash where he's protected by his wealth, he's protected by his class, but not by his race. And there's a fascinating tension there, and I really wanted to see that explored on the page, but you just never get this guy's insight on the effects of that. He goes to AA meetings as required by his like court mandate, and you get some interesting dribs and drabs about how he doesn't really feel like he can connect with most people who are in recovery programs because he's like a rich kid who didn't have actually that much of a substance problem, and he's like suddenly surrounded by these people whose lives have been ruined by alcohol and drugs, and he can't relate to them. And that was like the closest we got, and the rest of it is just really boring, like recounts of dinner parties and restaurants, and he's got this friend who's having an affair with a famous chef. I gotta hurry this up or I gave up on it because I was like, my life is too short, unfortunately. I really wanted to like this. It didn't live up to expectations. Assembly by Natasha Brown. This is a pretty new one. This is also a proof. Oh no. I loved Assembly by Natasha Brown. I think that's like a masterwork, to be honest. This I liked, and it's so opaque because she's writing from the perspective of a bunch of characters who are excusing their own behaviour through various means. So it feels hard to decipher any of the characters' true motivations up until pretty much the end of the book. None of the people in this book are particularly genuine or well-meaning, and I thought it was a really interesting commentary on the journalism industry and the sort of mainstream media racket in the UK and the way that shapes the way we discuss current affairs. Would I reread it? Probably not, and if I did, I'd borrow it from the library. So that one is going. Oh, this one is really good. Really good, and I might snatch it back off the pile before it goes. I don't need it. I'm probably not going to reread it. This is Astrea by Kate Krumenick. It won the Weatherglass Novella Prize. Beautiful. It follows a prison ship going to Australia, set in, I want to say like the early 19th century, so the 1800s. We follow this girl who's on this ship. She's like 15. She has clearly had a traumatic experience very recently that's probably led to her being on this ship, and she has severed her memory of the past so completely that she doesn't remember life outside of the ship anymore. And it's a really long voyage, so she creates this whole mythology while she's on this ship with a bunch of women that she forms various sort of connections with. And because her current experience is so isolated to this boat, it feels like they're on a different planet. Really beautiful and heart-rending, and you get a sense of like the horrors of being in this situation, but it's also a really beautiful character study of this poor girl. I thought this was really, really good, but I would like it to be in circulation for other people, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's going. Really good though, loved it. I got Les Normaux by Janine Jansen with S. Al Sabado. This was originally a webcomic, YA/new adult romance comic. Really, really cute. Really, really, really cute. Would I reread it? Probably not. It's really cute, but it does a lot of the same stuff that the genre already does. So I'm glad I read it. Probably wouldn't reread it. Someone else will get a lot more out of it than me. This retails for £22. The library can have it. The baby queers of my borough can get much more out of this than me. Okay, A Fix of Light by Kel Menton. This follows two teenagers. They're like 18 and 19, I want to say. There's like a little disclaimer at the start that's like, this might be a little sensitive. There's so much really brutal stuff happens in this book. The two characters also just keep getting beat up, which is brutal. Damn, they live in a village with like 60 people in it, and they still keep getting the shit kicked out of them. I don't know. Anyway, this follows, what's his name? Oh, Hanan? Is that how you say that? They're Irish. They're from like Cork. Well, they live near Cork. And it's these two teenage boys, and they kind of bump into each other. Hanan is like going through something that you realize pretty early on is like a magical thing. Like he's been infected with some kind of forest spirit, and he's trying to hide that and cope with that. And he's also, you know, got some mental illness that he's sort of coping with. And he bumps into Pax, who works in like his local coffee shop, and they kind of strike up a little something. And then a bunch of stuff happens. This is like really cute. Transparent, magical shit happens. Pretty good. I like it. But someone else is going to get a lot more out of that than me. I've read it, you know? Another one in the same similar vein as Les Normaux, I Shall Never Fall in Love by Harry Connor. This is a Regency graphic novel, YA, queer romance. One of the main characters, George, is like trans-masc, non-binary maybe, but obviously because it's a Regency romance, they don't really have the language for that. They're just like, George is like a cute boy, but who's also a girl, but is he? It's great. I really liked this. I thought it was really sweet. Am I gonna reread it? No. Is some queer teen gonna get more out of it than me? Yes. So it goes on the pile. Okay, the last one before I have to go grab more stuff. This is just a graphic novel I saw upstairs and was like, I haven't read that yet, so I gotta... I love you, Michael DeForge! I love you! Okay, Ordinary Saints by... Neve... Nay... No... I'm sorry. This was so good. I really liked this one. I really liked it. I might keep it, to be honest. I read it very quickly and I was in a bit of it. Oh, I folded pages down in this, which is what I do when I like read quotes I really like. I just read it on a day when it turns out I was actually coming down with a cold, so I remember shamefully little of it, but there's really interesting stuff. It's in the first person. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but her brother dies when she's like 16, and he's like a really devout priest in training. Like he goes to Rome to be like a Catholic priest, and he dies super young in like a freak footballing accident. When she's an adult, this narrator, her parents start the process to get her brother Ferdia canonized as a saint, which is a thing that you can still do, as it turns out. And the thing I mainly took away from this book is how bizarre the process of canonization is. I thought it was really interesting. I might keep that. That's going on the keep pile. Okay, wasn't expecting that. Let me grab some more stuff. I mean, we're not even a quarter of the way through the stack. I need to hurry the fuck up. Ugh. Why fish don't exist. I ended up reading this on Kindle, and I thought it was pretty good. The illustration plates in here would be the most reason to keep a physical copy. Let me pull one of these up because they're great. Look at that. Ooh! This is a book about a woman looking for meaning. Well, Lulu Miller, looking for meaning. It's non-fiction from sort of the first person, but as she explores the life of David Starr Jordan, who was a 19th century taxonomist, because he, to her, displayed huge perseverance in the face of chaos, which she felt desperately in need of sort of embodying herself. And this book is a ride. You find out some stuff about a 19th century taxonomist that you feel probably you shouldn't know about anyone. Turns out he was like, oh, I don't want to, okay, no spoilers, because it like really threw me for a loop, and it actually kept me pretty engaged with the story. Ultimately, at the end of the book, the message is that we need to relax our assumption that we know everything about the world, and actually knowing nothing is a beautiful thing. And that I can get behind. The journey there is a ride. Someone else is going to get something really good out of that book. Next, A Room Above a Shop by Anthony Shapland. Really, really beautiful story about, it's like the 70s in Wales, South Wales. There's miners' strikes happening. Or I think it's just in the wake of the miners' strikes. Thatcherite England is in full swing. England, Britain, Wales. Vive la Cymru. Yeah, so South Wales during the decade of Section 28, these two dudes meet, have a spark, they move in together. But obviously they have to live in a very covert way. Really beautiful. And teeny weeny, this book is like, how long is it? 140 pages, and most of them are written in like open verse like this. Overwrought in a lot of places. It's not a deal breaker because this book is so short, but some of the prose is overdone. And I probably wouldn't read it again, but the imagery of it is really beautiful. And it's a bit of Wales that I know very well. This was like really great for me. Someone else will get something even better out of it. Next. From Savagery by Alejandra Banca. This is, oh, there's still a bookmark in here. I'll take that out. Really fascinating collection about, it's like a collection of vignettes about various immigrant workers in Barcelona. Really, really tough, really depressing, really heavy. That's the word I was looking for. Obviously, because, life is very difficult for these people, and but the thing I did really like about it was the overarching sense of like life. That one of the first, I think it is the second story in this collection, is this woman who is getting by on like Uber Eats delivery driving, and like the amount of money you get is just abysmal. The amount of hours you have to put in to make a decent like living to be able to pay rent is just ridiculous. And she's like on her period, and you get like a really intense, like almost grotesque description of like her trying to finish the day out because she knows she has to make rent, but she's in like huge amount of pain and she's bled through her shorts. But then she gets back to her apartment and she just like goes to the shower and she's like crying in the shower, and then one of her housemates like calls through the door, and they have like, I don't know, they just have like a moment of connection that's like really beautiful, and the chapter ends and they're both laughing, and I remember thinking like, fuck, that's really good. I want this to be in a library. There we go. The next one, The Lamb by Lucy Rose. Really liked the fairy tale style narration of this one, but so sad. I just wanted one good thing to happen to this main character, and no spoilers. No spoilers. That's what we'll end on. That's going to the library. Okay, more. Okay. Ugh. Let's get going. Okay, Hunchback by Sao Ichikawa. This has had a lot of press recently, I think for really good reason. It is fascinating and gross and does everything in its power to make you question the assumptions you make about the people in this story. Really, really, I think quite radical, this book. However, would I read it again? Probably not. Would I like to see this in a cute local library? Yes. On the pile. This Immaculate Body by Emma Van Straten. I had to give up on this one as well. I got like 60 pages in, and it follows a woman who develops an obsession with a man whose house she cleans. She does it once a week. She has like a day job, but she's so obsessed with cleaning this guy. She's never met him, but her whole preconception of him is based on the stuff in his flat. Is that interesting? Hell yeah, I love that premise. However, this prose, like there's no dialogue whatsoever, so which is fine. Most of the pages are like a block of text, and it's all about how unhealthily obsessed she is with this guy, and it really drives it home. And again, I'm someone who really tries to put myself in the shoes of these characters, and I was reading this and I was thinking, I am getting depressed reading this. This character is so desperately unhappy and so desperate. Like, she talks about like how being in a relationship with this man would like change the way she looked, because suddenly she'd have a reason to do X, Y, Z. You know, her skin would become lighter because she would be, just by virtue of her adjacency to him, and that her, I don't know, the social preconceptions that come with her race and her class and her weight would be lessened by, you know, being on his arm. And it was so sad. I think there's real value in what this book has to say and what the main character has, her relationship with the concept of this man. She's never met him. I couldn't do it. Maybe someday down the line I'd borrow it from a library and give it another go, but I was not in the place to receive this. Really worthwhile though, I think, if someone has the mental fortitude for it. So it's going on the pile. The next one, Pagans by James Alistair Henry. Not my thing. Really not my thing. If a book starts with a cast of characters that is 2 pages long with a bunch of shit like Detective Captain, Detective Inspector with Dumnonian Tribal Police Agency, there's 2 maps, and then a page of description of like the factions that exist in this world, and then you start it and like you don't like, I don't want to have to read a book before I read the book. I'm exaggerating here, but again, it was never going to be my thing. I got this for, I mean, the publisher sent me it and I was very flattered, but not my thing, not my thing, so that can go. Big release though this year for readers of Terry Pratchett, so... Medusa of the Roses by Navid Sinaki. I gave up on this like 50 pages from the end, which I would usually never ever ever do, but I had spent nearly 2 weeks trying to chip through this. I can't really articulate why it was taking me so long. The synopsis of the book. So Angier and Zal have been in like a secret relationship since they were young, but it's very clear that Zal is cheating on Angier. Then Zal gets caught in the street with this guy he's cheating with and gets the shit kicked out of him like he's turned to paste. And Angier is his like emergency contact, so Angier goes to pick him up. This is set in Tehran, I think? Yeah. So he goes to pick him up and brings him back to their apartment. Zal like disappears in the middle of the day, even though he's wheelchair bound and has lost a bunch of teeth. And Angier works at a hotel and meets this lady who turns out to be a trans woman. She talks about how, despite the immense queer phobia of Iran and its government, apparently they sponsor, or at some point have sponsored, like the medical transition of trans women. Angier is like, holy shit, this is how me and Zal can be together, because he's hung up on this guy even though he's cheated on him like a dozen times. So he starts to transition, but it's not really a trans story, because this character doesn't come across as someone who has always wanted to be a woman, only that being a woman would drastically improve their life in a way that is institutional and not internal. And the prose is really dense and it's really depressing. I just couldn't stick it. I kept bouncing off it. I couldn't really get into the headspace of the character. I couldn't do it. Really interesting concept. Execution, not for me. So that one can go. Next one, Godkiller, Hannah Kana. I don't know why I got this. I thought people are talking about it, maybe I'll give it a go. I don't really read fantasy. I haven't read this, I'm afraid. But cool book to have in a local library. It's going on the pile. Next up, Indeterminate Inflorescence, Notes from a Poetry Class by Lee Seong-bok. Translated by Anton Her. This is like a book of vignettes from a poetry class, and it's really beautiful. I flicked through it, but it's not something I would revisit over and over again. Life is too short, to be honest. Interesting though, and maybe the library could get use out of it. Another stack, another stack, another stack, another stack, maybe another stack. Okay, I've just had a look at the stack that's still there, and we're not even halfway through, so I'm gonna have to speed this shit up. Siblings by Bridget Ryman. I kept this originally because I think the cover is beautiful. I love a wraparound cover. However, incest, really, really weird pseudo-incest, and I'm never gonna reread it. It freaked me the hell out when I read it. I don't like it. I don't like this book. I thought it was really weird. But it's a modern classic, and I did learn about East Germany pre-Berlin Wall collapse, so interesting. The Pachinko Parlor, Elisa Schuerdusipin. I actually thought this was really good. It's one of those books, sort of like me watching the movie of American Psycho, where I got like 70% of the way through. I was like, what the fuck is this? And then the ending happens and you're like, oh, that was actually a masterpiece. This is that. For me at least, everything kind of culminated right at the end, and I was suddenly like, oh no, that was worth the read. In retrospect, the rest of the book, pretty good. Would I reread it? Nah. It can go. I need the space. Monumenta by Laura Howarth. Bizarre. Really interesting, teeny weeny novella, like 90 pages long. Oh, 121, but the font is whoop, massive. Serbia. They're in Belgrade. Belgrade? How do you pronounce that? I don't know. The thing that I remember most from this book is that the idea is that the house that this older lady, Olga, lives in, her house is being forcibly bought up by the Serbian government to knock down to put up a war memorial. And every time she tells someone this, that they're knocking this house down to build a war memorial, they all say, which war? There's like dream sequences that bleed into reality. The family dynamics between these people is fascinating. And you get to meet the people who are being proposed to be like the sculptors and the designers to put up this sculpture, but nobody can really answer the question as to like why any of this is happening. I really liked it. Am I gonna reread it? Probably not. And if I did, I would borrow it from a library. Next up, this one might be controversial. If We Were Villains. I read this, right? And I thought it was brilliant. And then literally the next book I read was The Secret History. And I thought, hang on a minute, ML Rio, I think you might have taken some inspiration here. Pretty much exactly the same premise, there's just a different thing that they're studying. Not that I didn't enjoy this, I did really enjoy it. I don't think this has longevity. The Secret History is like a modern classic. This, I don't think anybody's going to be talking about this in a few years. I think already very few people are talking about it, unfortunately. And I think it's very derivative. I liked the way it incorporated Shakespeare as like a driving force for the plot. To be honest, I would read this again, but more as kind of pulpy fun than an intellectual pursuit, which I feel like this was posed to me as when I first picked it up, and I did enjoy it. I don't think it has longevity. Library can have it. Next up, The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I love this book. I hate this cover. This colour scheme is the ugliest shit I've ever seen. When I read this, I bought it from the work, so I got it for like £3, and I read it almost as soon as I bought it because it was so ugly on my shelf that I wanted to get rid of it, and then it was really fucking good. What cover artist? Who gave the go-ahead for this colour scheme? It's awful. The font is ugly, the colour's ugly, the gold highlight is abysmal. Why is the Women's Prize shortlisted sticker half the size of the fucking cover? Everything about this makes me angry. The moment they re-release this with a decent fucking cover, I will buy a copy to keep because I think it's beautiful. Trans rep? The trans rep in this book is so good! I wanted the whole book to just be that bit in the middle where the daughter and her like trans boyfriend are like queening out in San Francisco or wherever they end up. I think they end up in LA. I don't know, I can't remember, it's been a while. I loved it. Why? Anyway, okay, going to the library. I'll buy another copy when they make it look better. Next, Julia Alvarez, The Cemetery of Untold Stories. I really liked this. I really liked this. Julia Alvarez has had a pretty rich literary history, and this book follows an author who moves back to the Dominican Republic after living in the US for most of her life, and she decides, she's like plagued by these manuscripts that she's never done anything with, and she decides that she's going to build a graveyard for her untold stories. She builds this graveyard on like a plot of land, and she buries her manuscripts, and the ghosts of the characters in these manuscripts sort of come to life to tell their stories. And she's written, who was it? It was like the wife of a dictator? Which dictator? I mean, which dictator? I can't remember his name is what I'm trying to say. Why didn't it say in the synopsis? Anyway, the wife of, like, a dictator of the Dominican Republic is the subject of one of the manuscripts. She's sort of writing a fictionalized biography, and this woman's spirit sort of comes to haunt the graveyard, as well as the spirit of the author's own father. When I say the author, I mean the narrator of the character. And the two kind of interact and get to know each other. It's fascinating. I really liked this book. I wouldn't reread it. Someone else can get a lot out of it. Next up, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. Again, I'm very glad I read it. Seminal bit of sci-fi. Would I reread it? No. And also I found the narrator's sudden bout of pedophilia, talking about the android that he has sex with, really off-putting. My name is Lucy Barton. I read this in like one day, and I remember at the time thinking, this is gorgeous, and now I have no idea what happens in it. Did not stay with me whatsoever. I probably would read this again at some point down the line, but I borrow it from the library. And I tried to read Olive Kitteridge after this one, and I could not stick it. I really didn't like Olive Kitteridge. Really depressing, and everybody's like, oh, Olive's such a great character, but she just came across as kind of nothing in the first like 60 pages that I read, and we're just following some really like sad small town stories that were kind of asking me to sympathize with characters I didn't really want to sympathize with, which is not bad inherently, but they didn't get there for me. I don't know. The library can have it. There we go. More! There we go, we're getting into some old stuff here. Okay. Legends and Lattes. I thought it was cute. I did. I know a lot of people didn't like this book, but I liked it for how empty it was. I like books where nothing happens, and I have a soft spot for watching like videos where people like decorate a room, and that's what this book felt like. It's just like following this lady like installing a cooker. Love it. I loved it, but I wouldn't read it again. Didn't really feel any connection to the characters, except that I wanted the orc lady carnally, and that's never gonna happen, so probably shouldn't, you know, keep torturing myself with that. That can go to the library. Oh, I have such mixed feelings about this. Above Us the Sea by Anya Card. I went to a talk that Anya Card did, and she is so cool and eloquent and interesting, and this book is quite long. The first section... I've got a matching bookmark, I'm keeping that, thank you. The main character of this book is this woman who, she doesn't really know her relationship to like sexuality and relationships at all. She might be gay, she might be bi, she doesn't really know, but she kind of falls in love with this gay guy called Gav. Pretty much overnight she moves in with him and his boyfriend, and they end up in this weird kind of triangular relationship where she's not intimate with either of them, obviously, but they form like a really strong, really complicated bond. And the first 80 pages of this book is just them living this really strange, unorthodox life. And I loved it. I loved the first section of this book. And then something crazy happens, and the rest of the book is the main character like blimping around London with this boyfriend that she kind of hates. And I wanted that to be like this much of the book, and it was more like this much of the book. And right at the end, she reconnects with people from her past, and there's this really beautiful resolution. But the middle of this book was so long, and then okay, no spoilers, but she does something really bizarre, and then she keeps doing it. and never comes clean to the people involved, really. And it's horrible, and I was just sitting there being like, I'm supposed to feel for this character, and she's just being so mean. I don't know. I loved the first section of this book. If it were acceptable, I would tear out the first section of this book and keep it forever, but it's not, so the library can have it. Next up, The Inner Clock.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Huh? Nuh-uh, girl. Anyway. Did I say anything that sounded like that bitch's name? I don't know. Anyway, The Inner Clock. Living in Sync with Our Circadian Rhythms by Lynn Peoples. Crazy fucking name, Lynn Peoples. Fuck off. Not real. I picked this up because I had some grand idea that it was gonna fix my sleep problems. And then I never read it, and I'm never gonna. The library can have it. Oh shit, oh the pile's tipping. Celebration by Demir Caracas. I love this cover, first of all. Gorgeous. This follows a guy. It's set in Croatia in... I don't think they ever give like a time frame. It's kind of timeless in the way that it's told. But it's set during and then before and then after a time of conflict. And it follows this guy... Oh yeah, Mijo. Or M-I-J-O. I don't know how they'd pronounce that. My instincts say Mijo. It could be Mijo. But you get 4 sections in this very short book out of chronology of this guy's life, and you get little slices of how he came to be and how he came to know the people around him. It was really interesting, and I've never read anything by a Croatian author, I don't think, or anything set in Croatia, so I was happy to read it for that. But some of the prose was quite dense and difficult to get through, and for a book that is like 90 pages long, this took me several days to get through, which is not usual for me. And I wouldn't reread it, but I thought it was pretty good. I liked it. And the library can have it. Oh, I feel really bad about this one. Death of a Bookseller by Alice Slater. Signed, because I went to a talk she did, and she was so nice, and she's an ex-bookseller, and she signed with a little snail on the page. Are you fucking joking? But I read the book. It was... I liked some bits of it a lot, and I thought there were a couple bits that were quite interesting. Would I reread it? No. And I hate this cover. I don't think I would mind it as much if they didn't have this stupid blood drip. When you're using such lurid colours, to suddenly use a colour that is fairly true to life, it looks like garbage. Maybe it's just me being picky, but like, just have the little illustration with the books and the snail and then the colours. Why the blood red blood drops? Make it fluorescent orange or something. I don't know. Just looking at it on my shelf was kind of upsetting me, so it's going. But Alice Slater's really nice, and I feel bad because she signed it for me. Anyway, I mean, I paid for the book, so whatever. Anyway, Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I really like this book. It reminded me a lot of The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, but in a different way. Just kind of with that kind of impossible geometry stuff. I really liked it. If I reread it, I'd borrow it from the library. I don't have the space. Paige Powers, Borrow Boyfriend Club. This is garbage, and I love it. It's not garbage, but it's like... It's the kind of book that knows it's ridiculous and it leans into it, and I love that. I love a bit of self-aware, like, slop. But there's some genuinely really, like, nice, poignant commentary on the trans experience in here, but it is Oran High School Host Club set in, like, America. And I love that. I really liked it. Some, like, queer teenager is gonna eat that up at the library. Next up, Shy by Max Porter. I read this and I thought that was really interesting. I like it and the things it does conceptually with typesetting. Just as a designer and a book nerd, I really like the formatting stuff they do here. The way music affects this kid is like a big running theme in this book, and I thought that was really interesting. And then I read a review of this book that said, I feel like this is trying to do what John Darnielle was doing in The Masters of Reality. And I thought, John Darnielle! John Darnielle! I love John Darnielle. John Darnielle of the Mountain Goats. has a couple novels out, and he also wrote a book for the series 33 1/3, which is a collection of short stories, essays, and novellas about albums. And he wrote one called Masters of Reality, about the Black Sabbath album, Masters of Reality. And it does pretty much exactly this, just without the fucky typesetting. So, I read that book just on a whim because of that review, and it was a 5-star. That was one of the best books I read last year, and I think about it all the time. So unfortunately, I thought this was pretty good. It's been done better, unfortunately. That's not to say this isn't good, and I would be very glad to give this to a library because I think there is a lot of merit here. Max Porter's great. Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason. I think this is a good book. I was distraught. This ruined me. So, you know when you read a book and you're like, damn! There's a couple quotes in here that have stuck with me forever. There's a bit where, because I really like the way the romantic relationship is handled in this book. I thought it was really sweet because she's just like in love with this really normal dude, and the main character like is like on the brink of having like a really normal, beautiful domestic life, but she just can't enjoy it. She's in constant turmoil. Everybody around her just is like, why can't you enjoy stuff, blah blah blah. And then at the end of the book, I mean no spoilers or anything, but she actually gets assessed by a psychologist, and suddenly everything else in her life is put into different perspective. There's a bit in this book where she realizes that people in her life have been hiding stuff from her that would have changed the way she lived her life up until this point, and she's like in her 30s by now, and she's like, why didn't anybody tell me? Oh, actually, like, really good book. And there's a bit where like that I think about all the time where she talks about how she loves, I think, Patrick, the love interest in this book, her husband, past a certain point. She says like, it's not that I get like this like giddy rush, I don't get like a rush of adrenaline, I just see him across the room and I think, thank God you're here. That has stuck with me forever. The kind of, it's not even a climax because a bunch of crazy stuff happens before then, but when this character finally starts getting answers, oh my God. I might reread this one day. I'd borrow it from the library. People can get more out of it. It's a lot of space on my bookshelf. So that's going. Really powerful book though. The Nude by C. Michelle Lindley. I have really mixed feelings about this book. I love the atmosphere that it establishes. I think Lindley is like a really, at least through this book, really good at atmosphere. In terms of the plot, it was advertised as like a queer romance, and she has this weird, like, homoerotic, like, back and forth with some guy's wife. And then she has like borderline graphic sex with like several men, and the most intimate she ever gets with this woman is like they kiss for like a split second, and then one of them like dances around the other and like touches her arm. I was like, I don't know that they were in a relationship. I don't know that you could say that. I have mixed feelings, but I love, so this character is like an expert in like Hellenistic sculpture. She goes to examine like a nude sculpture that's been found in the ocean, and she's trying to buy it for her like for the museum she works for in the US. And she goes there. It's clear, and there's a lot of conflict about the what's the word, like almost carnivorous nature of museum culture. That was really interesting. And this character is completely powerless in her own life. She feels like she has no control over anything that happens to her, and it creates this dizzying kind of vortex of sensory kind of input where she works for this museum and she's trying to buy this statue, and people are trying to stop her from buying this statue, but she's like, I don't have any control over this, I just need my job, and blah 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 blah. And other people around her are like, you don't have to do this, and she's like, but I do. And they're like, why? And she's like, I don't know, because I do. All sorts of questions of culpability and individual responsibility. I hated the ending. I really didn't like the ending. Just felt super anticlimactic compared to all the questions the text was asking in the main body. Anyway, this, I think I gave it 3 stars, like 3.5. Really good summer read, really good during a heat wave, because I felt sweaty just reading this book. Can go to the library. Next up, oh, Cinema Love. I wanted one good thing to happen to Bao Mei. Does it ever happen? Not really. Kind of an exploration of the lives of gay men in China. And also, I was expecting that to be the main focus of the book, and we get more of the impact on the women in their lives, which I think is fascinating and really, really beautiful, because Bao Mei marries this gay guy basically so that they can appear legitimate, but as a result, she ends up kind of sacrificing her whole life to the protection of this man, who is not always grateful for it. Yeah, it's really brutal, really beautiful. I want more people to read it, so it's going to the library. More! We're getting there now. We're properly getting there. Okay. Ugh. Bored Gay Werewolf. Really fun, pretty bad. And I mean that in like it knows it's not Shakespeare, let's be real. I would totally, there's a second one that's like Shy Trans Banshee that I desperately want to read. This is a series that I would love to engage with, but wouldn't keep. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna reread this. It was fun though. Love the gay werewolf. Love. Found family, supernatural elements integrated into a modern setting, which I love. Like, this guy is like a werewolf and he gets bitten by a werewolf and then he like goes on like grinder hookups. It's great. I really like this book. Someone else can get way more out of it than it's gonna get just sitting on my shelf. Okay. Shuggy Bane by Douglas Stewart. Oh my god. Again, let one good thing happen to Shuggy. Will it? Probably not. In fact, one of the best things that happens to this poor kid in this book is the tragedy at the end. Awful. Really depressing. I mean, great. Really, really good. Don't get me wrong. Beautiful, beautiful book. I don't know that my soul could handle rereading it. It's very, very sad. You know, his story's with me now. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. I'm not forgetting this book in a hurry. But am I gonna reread it? No, someone else can get more out of it. Un Amour by Sarah Mesa. I wanted to like this book so bad. I love the cover. Oh god, this cover illustration. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, beautiful book. The first half of this book, this woman moves to a town in the middle of nowhere. There's like 6 houses in this like hamlet in the middle of like the desert. She's trying to find a way of surviving in this landscape. You get the sense she's kind of done something horrible and she's running away from society to atone for it. She's an interesting, in the start of the book she's an interesting character, and I love the bits where she's kind of trying to navigate this alien landscape that seems set on punishing her, or whether she's just interpreting the world as punishing her because she feels she's deserving of punishment. I found that really interesting. And then she just gets into this really weird relationship with one of her neighbours, and it bummed me out, and then basically the book ended. Did not live up to my expectations. The first like 50 pages of the book were fucking great. Again, if I could rip off like this bit of the book and keep this bit forever, I would. Unfortunately, you're not allowed to do that. And I've not really seen this anywhere. Maybe it's just because it's published by Perrin, who are like a pretty eclectic, odd publishing house, and I've never seen this anywhere, so that I think the library could benefit from having a rare, not rare, you know, you could get it anywhere, but I don't know guys, I don't know. Next, they've got The Silence in Between. I've got like a little tab in here, I don't really know why. I'm gonna take that out. This is a proof from last year. This is The Silence in Between. It's about the divide between East and West Berlin. These characters living in East Berlin, and there's some family conflict. And actually, I thought this was a really solid story. I thought Josie Ferguson's writing was not quite where I would like it to be, but I don't think that erodes the content or quality of the story at all. I think it's a really good story. I think, yeah, one of the main characters is like a 16-year-old girl, and her dialogue and the stuff and like the narration around her whole thing is really corny, like a lot. So I wasn't like super vibing with her whole shtick, but beautiful book. I would recommend it to anybody who I thought might be interested in that kind of thing. Next, Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. The problem is that it's massive. The problem is that it's a really chunky book. I don't have space for this kind of thing. There's one quote in here that changed my fucking life, that I thought was just incredible, that genuinely, I read this on the train and I was crying, and it still makes me a little emotional. She, like all mothers, constantly casts out her thoughts, like fishing lines, towards her children, reminding herself of where they are, what they are doing, how they fare. From habit, while she sits there near the fireplace, some part of her mind is tabulating them and their whereabouts. Judith upstairs, Susanna next door, and Hamnet? Her unconscious mind casts again and again, puzzled by the lack of bite, by the answer she keeps giving it. He is dead, he is gone. And Hamnet? The mind will ask again. At school, at play, out at the river? And Hamnet, where is he? Here, she tries to tell herself, cold and lifeless on this board, right in front of you, look, here, see. And Hamnet? Where is he? Bro! That visual of the mind, like, casting, like, a fishing line that will never again get a bite. If it was socially correct to rip out that page, frame it, I would. But it's going to the library. Next up, Brick Lane by Monica Ali. This was a huge title back in the day. I feel like I've seen this book fucking everywhere, and I think it has huge merit. I'm glad I read it, don't get me wrong. Did it need to be this long? These pages are like wafer thin as well. This is nearly 500 pages, I think. 492 pages this book is, and there were whole 100-page passages where I was like, what is happening? I think this could have done with a radical edit. That's all I'll say. But really beautiful story. Good book. I'd read more from Monica Ali if I hadn't seen her other books and hadn't seen that they were also this big. I just think she's a bit verbose. I don't know. Great book though. Next, Mongrel by Hanneke Footman. Absolutely destroyed me. I thought it was beautiful, but I'm never gonna read it again. Radical Love by Neil Blackmore. This is the story of a minister called John Church in 1809 who starts a relationship with an African abolitionist called Ned. I was like so excited about this like historical fiction. You very rarely get the stories of black people pre like 1950 in literature, especially in Britain. So I was really excited to see this. I was really excited to see where it would go. And the vast majority of the story follows John Church, the minister, who turns out to be a total piece of shit. And there's a bunch of death and violence and characters who never see retribution, really, for their horrible actions. And it really bummed me out. It wasn't what I was expecting. I don't know. Whatever. Oh, there's a little thing on the viewfinder of my camera that says 4 minutes. Does that mean I have 4 minutes of memory left? Because that would be a bummer. Okay. Let's get moving then. The Girl with the Louding Voice by Abi Dare. Beautiful book. Beautiful book. Probably wouldn't reread it. Someone else can get something so good out of this. And I got it from a charity shop, but it's in like beautiful condition. I don't know. Great. Really good book. Okay. Quick, speed run. I've been saying this the whole time. Oh god. Oh, hubris. Glorious Exploits. I like this more now that I think about it in retrospect than I did when I was reading it at the time. I got a lot out of it. Wouldn't read it again. On the pile. Greta and Valdin. I really liked this. I thought it was really good. Would I reread it? No, it's going on the pile. Bellies by Nicola Dinan. Thought it was beautiful. Would I reread it? No, it's going on the pile. This is my Waterstones debut fiction prize stack. Ministry of Time. Kellyanne Bradley. I'm writing you a strongly worded anonymous letter that's going to make you feel unsafe in your own home. I shouldn't say that, but this fucking sucks. I'm sorry. Maybe one day I'll go on a proper rant about the way I feel about the Ministry of Time, but that book fucking sucks. I'm sorry. I mean, no shade to anybody who enjoys it, but not for me. Herc by Phoenicia Rogerson. I've had some mixed opinions about this, but I really liked it. I thought it was a very good way of handling the way that so many myths about Hercules clash. Because you're hearing it from different perspectives, you're hearing different parts of his story at different times, and it's not written as if you're reading an objective account, you're reading other people's kind of eyewitness reports of his behaviour, which was pretty bad. So I quite like this one, but I don't need to keep it. Mouthing by Orla Mackie. I never read it. I tried to read it, I hated the narration style. I didn't get more than 10 pages in. Same thing with Broken Glass by Alan Mobanku. I got this from a charity shop, and it's signed, like, extensively with a little smiley face, but the narration style is like, every chapter is like one running sentence that's just broken up with commas, and I can't read that. Olive Kitteridge, I've already spoken about this one in this video. Didn't like it. Concerning My Daughter, really good book. I really like this one. Would I reread it? No. Oh, I'm running. Yeah, it is giving me a countdown as to how much storage space I have on this camera. Fuck, I got 2 minutes left. The Map That Led to You by Ella McLeod. I think I quite liked this at the time, but I didn't think it was anything especially life-changing, and I don't remember anything that happens in it now. I read this like 2 years ago, so that's going on the pile. In fact, I don't know that I finished it. I feel like I might have shelved it and then said, oh, I'll finish that later, and then I never did, and then I put it on the out pile, so I don't know. Anyway, Close to Home by Michael McGee. I love this. I'm gonna get this in paperback. I just don't like hardbacks, so that can go on the pile. The Female Man. I thought that sounded fun and subversive, and I took it because it was in the shop and the front pages were falling out, and then I realised I was never gonna read it, so it's on the out pile. That was the whole thing. Let me show you these piles. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, look at this shit. All of that to go. And I've not even weeded out my bookshelves recently, so there's probably going to be more in like a couple weeks. Yay! Okay. So, yeah. Oh shit, I forgot. Let me pop you up here. Is that good? It's not great. Hold on. Good evening, every pony. It is the evening of the same day. I just got back from... I just saw Jeffrey Lewis in the Voltage at the Dome in Tufnell Park. It was really fucking good. I've wanted to see Jeffrey Lewis live for so long. The support acts were, you know, when a band is terrible and that makes them really good? That was the energy of the evening. It was great. I need to set up this white balance. Ooh, spooky. Whatever. Let me show you this poster I got. Hold on. A Jeffrey Lewis print. Very cool. Signed by Jeffrey Lewis. I wanted to get a t-shirt, but it's got like 2 naked people on it, which means I wouldn't be able to wear it to work, and it was 20 quid, and I got enough t-shirts. My feet feel like shit. Back hurts like I'm 70 years old, and okay, camera ran out of memory. I forgot to delete the last recording, which ended up being an hour and 14 minutes long. I genuinely thought it'd been 40 minutes tops, and it turns out I can just yap. I could just yap. Anyway, what I was saying. Saw Jeffrey Lewis, got home, and I'm eating my signature slop. Yes, this is kefir, some like store-bought mango and passion fruit smoothie, chia seeds, golden flax seeds, mixed seeds, who knows, and muesli. And that is all mixed up with about a handful of pistachios, shelled by myself. Now, I don't really know what any of those things do individually for your health, but it does the most important thing, which is makes me better than everybody else. Yep. You bitches thought chia pudding was the be all and end all. I'm making potions. Yeah, I'm having dessert breakfasts you ain't even heard of before. This is, look at this beautiful slop. It looks like porridge. It's a different thing. Genuinely though, really fucking good. Yummy. I want to add a little something at the end because the library guy called me back. It turns out it's just some bloke with a car. He was like, do you want me to come pick him up? I was like, yeah, please. I was going to take him in a few batches on the bus. He was like, don't do that. When you free? He was like, well, I can't do today. I was like, oh, is tomorrow okay? He was like, yep. what time? I was like, anytime past 2:30? He was like, perfect. I'll be there afternoon or evening, depending on the traffic. Okay, you know what? Works for me, man. First of all, the books are going. I got a guy who's gonna take them. And the other thing is I got a few more to add to the stack. Poor bastard. He asked me how many. I was like, probably about 65, and that was enough for him, so I'm hoping he won't notice if I slip a few more in there. I'm going to put the book I'm currently reading straight on the pile, which is a bit of a shame, because I did have high hopes for this, but I'm not gonna revisit it, probably. That is Dengue Boy. I'm not really sure about the pronunciation of that one. By Mikel Nieva. This is... The premise of this is fascinating. It's like a boy who looks like a mosquito, and it turns out to be some sort of mosquito hybrid. And this is set in, I want to say, 2272, the year 22, yeah. Dengue Boy, our protagonist, lives on the, he lives on the Patagonian archipelago. And everybody hates him because he's ugly. Eventually he snaps and kills a bunch of people and starts a new plague. There are bits of this that are great. There's a bit where they talk about like a startup that specializes in microclimates, where they like fire bombs of sulfur into the atmosphere to deflect the sun's rays, and they offer like microclimate building kits to create habitable zones on the earth, where you can like pick your choice of like biome to create, and the company like ships you a bunch of soil and plants and seedlings. Like, that's a really interesting concept, and I like the way we follow Dengue Boy, or as they later become Dengue Girl, and then Dengue Void, because they nearly die. It's a whole thing. I thought, starting to read it, I was like, is this like a trans allegory? Body horror always kind of comes across like a trans allegory for me. Whatever, you can read into that what you want. But there is a sort of trans element to this, in that Dengue Boy, or the dengue creature, is kind of fluid in their experience of gender. So there are interesting elements, but a lot of it is really, it feels gross out for the sake of it. So there's a whole subplot side thing where these kids are obsessed with like a game called Christians versus Indians, and it is like, obviously the author isn't racist necessarily, or it's a commentary on like the desensitization of society through the media we consume to atrocities committed by the societies that sustain us. I do think that's really like important, and I think it does it well, but it does it ad nauseum, and I wanted more depth out of this. I'm like less than 50 pages from the end. If something crazy happens, I'll update you and keep it, but I don't think I will. I wanted it to dig a little deeper. I don't know. I'm not crazy about it. I thought it was pretty good, and I wouldn't write off anything else from this author in the future, but not for me. Okay, so that one's going on the pile. I feel kind of bad about this because I have heard really good things about New Life, or The New Life by Tom Crew. I got like 30 pages in the first time I tried to read this. I don't know what it was. I just found it really, really dull. I couldn't get into it. I skipped around a little bit, and I just couldn't. I wasn't getting into it, and it's a long one. Well, it's pretty long for me. It's like 370. 350 is like, past 350, I need a really good reason to be reading this book. And I tried it. I wasn't crazy about the prose. This isn't a never again, but I would borrow it from the library rather than buy a copy. So that's going on the out pile. Someone will get much more out of that. Next, I do feel a little bit sad about this, but I'm not going to reread it, and that is Vagabonds by Elagosa Osunde. I love this book. I think it's really good. I think it's really accomplished. I think it's really beautiful. It's like a series of short stories that all exist in the same universe, which is like the mythic queer underground of Lagos, and you're kind of looking into the minds of like demons, and you're exploring, like, there's a whole bit that I remember really vividly of like queer people who get by and like pay rent and buy food by acting as those people in like evangelical churches who the pastor comes up and like taps them on the head and then they start like going "Wah!" because there's like a demon in them. And I loved the idea of that kind of persecution unintentionally funding the lives of like queer people who are just trying to survive. And yeah, it's like a beautiful, rich exploration of the diaspora. I'm just saying words. I want everybody to read it. I think it's beautiful, but it is precisely for that reason that I want to give it to the library. It's been sitting on my shelf since 2022. I read it in 2022, I thought it was incredible, but I'm not gonna read it again, and if I did, I would borrow it from the library. So it's going to the library. This went back on the pile. Ordinary Saints by, not gonna try it. I looked at it again and I was like, I don't need that on my shelf. I remember it pretty vividly, and if I was gonna read it again, I'd get it from the library. So, okay, I have a couple more. I went through the little books that I have, little eeny meeny ones, because I get a lot of, I don't know, they charm me. I'm charmed. I like a novella. I like a novella, sue me. I like a cute little novella with a delightful little cover. But I need to get rid of stuff, and I know I'm not going to revisit these. I got Star by Mishima. I bought this because I loved the cover. Shameless. I'd heard of Mishima as well, and I wanted to read some Mishima, but come on. Come on! I thought it was alright. If I was gonna read it again, I'd look it up online, probably. Or I'd borrow it from the library, so it's going. Now these I bought pretty much because I think the covers are beautiful. I love Faber. Faber, baby. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Now, see, isn't it fucked up that this cover is so beautiful and the book is so ass? That's rude. That's rude. It's just not for me. It's like a satire on the superhero I don't know. All of the characters are named after the tropes that they embody, so it's like hero, and there's a character called Hero, there's a character called Femme Fatale, and it just irritated me. I got what it was trying to do. I just hated the reading experience and I wouldn't read it again, and someone else can have it. Even though it's, when a fire-ass fucking design treatment gets wasted on a mid-book. Punching walls. I'm 6'4", by the way. And Milan Kundera may let the old dead make room for the young dead. I just don't remember anything about this. I remember reading it and thinking that was pretty good, but so somebody else can get something more out of it. There's one last thing. There's one last thing to put on this pile, and it is precisely because I have a teeny weeny book that I'm getting rid of a larger book. It's gonna be Nocturnes by Kazuo Ishiguro. I read this for a book club and I actually really liked it, but I thought the rest of the short stories were okay. But no, they were good, but there was one that stood out that made me laugh out loud, and that's rare for a book. But I laughed out loud for a long time, and then I kept thinking about the scenario in this short story and I kept laughing, like, days afterwards. And I kept this for that short story, and then I found Come Rain or Come Shine in a teeny weeny Faber edition. This short story, the whole collection, is short stories about music and people's lives intersecting with music in different ways, and it's pretty good. I like it as a collection. But Come Rain or Come Shine follows this guy who is going to visit some old university friends, like a couple decades down the line. Our main character, Ray, always thought he had something kind of going on with Emily, and Emily marries Charlie. But the thing that defined Ray and Emily's relationship is that they listen to jazz together. So he goes to visit, kind of hoping that he can big up to Emily that, you know, he's doing pretty well. And then Charlie takes him to one side when he gets there and says, hey man, Emily's like really pissed off with me at the moment, so I need you to like act extra pathetic so that she realizes that I'm pretty good. And Ray's like, holy shit, it's happening. And he does something stupid and damages something in the apartment and then decides that he needs to convince everybody that it was the neighbor's dog broke in and damaged the apartment. So he tries to stage like a dog breaking in, and the way it like builds. Okay, spoilers, I want to talk about it. He boils a boot on the stove to imitate the smell of a dog, and then he crawls around on all fours and starts biting magazines to make it look like a dog mauled them. And while he's doing this, Emily comes home to find him in her house, chewing on magazines on the floor while a boot boils on the stove. And he goes, oh my god, and she goes, oh, Ray, oh my god, you've made us something to eat. How nice is that? That looks really nice. And he's like, oh my god, she thinks I'm an imbecile. She thinks I'm having a breakdown. So he plays along, and she just goes on assuming that he was having like a mental breakdown or some kind of psychological hiccup. And then the story ends. When I was like, it's one of those, like, I feel a lot of secondhand embarrassment when I read and consume media. So I'm sitting here, he's like on the floor chewing magazines. I'm like, something about this tickled me in a way that things rarely do. So it is with a heavy heart that I let go of Nocturnes, but this goes back on my shelf. That is everything. I swear to God, that is everything I'm getting rid of. I can't justify giving these people any more of my stuff. As useful as it would be to get rid of more shit, my house is so full of random crap. I'm thinking of doing like a Marie Kondo style clear out of everything I own, at which point I'll probably find more books to get rid of. Who knows, next unhaul in like a year. But for now, that's it. Hope you enjoyed me rambling about stuff for probably like an hour and a half by now. I'm gonna eat my super slop. Look, the cheese seeds have thickened up enough that it's like, it's a spackle. You bitches don't even know what spackle is, and I'm eating it by the pound. That was pathetic. There we go. Don't even forget it, man. I'm on that spackle shit. Oh.